value of a gap year? What do you get out of it? And how do you communicate all of the amazing ways you have grown and changed and all of the things that you have learned? If you've been listening to this podcast and listened to any of the gap year stories or the folks who have spoken about their gap year, the backstory is that we have to pick a very, very small subset of learning that gapper wants to focus on in the episode. Because if we just got chatting, we could chat for hours upon hours about the transformations that they've experienced, about the learning and about the growth that they experienced on their gap year. So that's a real challenge. How do you show the world hours and hours worth of stories and analogies and experiences in a way that they can understand it? How can a future employer or a scholarship grantor or an admissions to post-secondary or to your post-grad program, how can they understand the value of the gap year? That's what the Student of Leadership and Humanity Award is all about. It's about validating all of the growth and learning that you experience on your gap year. This episode will take you through all of the components of what it is and how to use it. So if you're taking a gap year and want to make sure that everybody else understands how powerful this is, then the Gap Year Student of Leadership and Humanity Award is for you. Check it out. Welcome to the Gap Year Podcast, where we explore the who, what, where, when, and why of gap years. It's real people sharing their stories, ideas, and experts diving deep into how you can make the right decisions in order to have a meaningful gap year. This is the place to be no matter where you are on your gap year journey. I'm Michelle Dittmer, your resident gap year expert. Let's jump right in. Hey there, and welcome to the Gap Year Podcast. My name is Michelle Dittmer, and I am your host and Gap Year expert. Today, we are talking about the Student of Leadership and Humanity Award. If you could get an award for living your best life, this would be it. The Student of Leadership and Humanity Award is the external recognition of how you have grown and changed because you engaged in experiences outside of the classroom. It has both an external and an internal function for people who choose to take a gap year. Externally, it's a third party standing behind you and validating that you spent your gap time purposefully. It's a third party saying that you have developed foundational skills that allow you to achieve your full potential, and that you have developed competencies beyond what the high school curriculum teaches, those essential life skills, those adulting skills, the skills that we all wish we had earlier in life. It is a third-party validation of that. So somebody else standing behind you and supporting that you are a stronger person, a better person because of this intentional and purposeful time that you took. Now, internally, this award is a tool for you to see how you are evolving throughout your gap years. It's a way for you to track your progress. When we're in school, we are always working towards the next test or the next course. And while we're on a gap year, sometimes we don't really recognize how far we've grown because there are no real tests. There is no external person telling us how well on a scale of 1 to 100 we're doing. So it can be really daunting to not really acknowledge all of that growth, and we're not used to doing it naturally. So sometimes it takes someone on the outside to just give you a little poke and a reminder and say, hey, you're doing awesome things. You're growing. You're developing skills. And that's what this tool is for you internally. It's those milestones that will help you to unpack all of the learning that's taking place when you experience something on your gap year, whether that's travel or work or volunteering or taking a course or learning a new skill very intentionally. It's a way to connect those experiences that you've had on your gap year to things beyond your gap year, to your future, to your immediate future, to who you are as a person and to how you're going to show up in this world. So it's a really, really powerful tool, both for that external, forward or front-facing validation of your gap year, but also for that internal ability to recognize all of the ways that you have grown and changed as a person on this year. Now, in the nuts and bolts of it, the award consists of 6 sub-badges. These are different topics that we touch on, different ways that people grow as a universal growth over the course of taking a gap year. So if we break it down, the first one is who am I? So a lot about exploration of self. So sometimes in high school, we get pigeonholed into who we are. And when we emerge out of high school, it's an opportunity to really connect with ourselves. What are our values? What do we stand for? Who do we really, really want to be as a person? And so that first badge will take you through that process of self-discovery. The second badge is my wellness. So especially coming out of this pandemic, but coming out of a high-stress high school experience, the ability to be aware of what you need to feel holistically well. So this encompasses your physical health, your emotional health, your mental health, your spiritual health, all those things that make us well. How do we take care of ourselves? How do we recognize when we are getting out of balance? And what do we need to realign ourselves so we can be our best self? So that's number 2, my wellness. The third badge is my future. So a lot of times on our gap year, it's a point of transition. We're moving from one phase of life to another, but sometimes we don't necessarily know what that future is going to look like, or we don't know what are the appropriate steps to get us there. So this badge will really help you explore what are those next steps. What are all the possible futures that lie before you? Badge number 4 is my finances. We really have to get comfortable with money and really understand how money comes, how money goes, how we should be saving, how we should be spending, because that is just a fundamental life skill. So really diving deep into personal finance and making sure that we have the skills that we need and the relationship with money that we need in order to better manage our money. The next one is mentorship. So everybody in our lives comes for a reason. And the most successful people can identify who the people are in their lives that act as a really solid mentor. Somebody who can act as a guide along the way. Somebody who can be a sounding board. And part of becoming a grown-up, part of living in life is identifying what type of mentor do you need, how do you find one, and how do you engage with them in a mentorship relationship. So one of the sub-badges is going to take you through that whole process. And the final and arguably most interesting component of this is an independent project. Now, this isn't necessarily a school project that you have to work on for grades. This is real life. And it's really exciting because it connects to one of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. You get the opportunity to look and check out some of the world's most pressing issues. And we're not asking you to alleviate global hunger, but what role do you want to play in addressing some of these issues with the gifts and talents and skills you have right now? How can you make that positive impact? So it's a really, really great project. For each of these pillars or each of these badges, we have the resources to help you explore in a really, really fun way. So it's not like school, it's not assignments. This is real life learning, and this is a skill that's going to carry forward with you no matter where you go. So in each badge, you're going to need to do some form of real life activity that pertains to that category. And then we're going to ask you to unpack what you learned during that experience. So let me give you an example. for wellness. The real life experience that you're going to do is going to depend on who you are. So for some people, it might be to begin working with a counselor. Other people, they might realize that they need to connect more with nature and taking a walk in the woods is their medicine, or starting a garden. While others may want to get back to playing a sport or being more physically active. So whatever that activity is, we want you to pick one that fits with your particular goals when it comes to wellness. An example for my finances, again, it could be anything that is super, super broad. You could do your own taxes for the first time. You could take up investing. You could make a budget for your gap year or a budget for your first year after graduate or after your gap year. So these are real life things, and we will help you take a look at that. And then it will help you to connect it with how are you going to use that skill in your future. Now, when it comes to the independent project, this can be any size project. So for some people, this may become the cornerstone of their entire gap year to build out a really robust independent project. While other people don't necessarily commit to it in the same way or are not interested in that being a cornerstone. And so their UN Sustainable Development Project could be something that lasts a single afternoon. There is a lot of flexibility built into this process. Now, once you've earned those 6 sub-badges, you are eligible for the Student of Leadership and Humanity Award. This is an international award that you can put on your resume and on your LinkedIn profile to help provide that credibility for your gap year. And we will stand behind you as the Canadian Gap Year Association, the one who's issuing this badge, to validate and to prove that you have had a very developmental and very worthwhile year. Now, it comes with some super cool technology, and you're going to start to see more and more of this. It comes with what's called a digital badge. So this isn't the little patch that you put on your Girl Guide outfit. This is a digital credential that you can upload to your LinkedIn profile, and embedded inside that image is all of the metadata about what you got up to on your gap year. It will showcase all the competencies that you developed throughout the process. It is secure. It is non-transferable, which means that you actually own it, and it's a very dynamic way to showcase your gap year. So all of this is wrapped up into such an incredible experience, not only for you to have those milestones to work towards on your gap year, but also a way to showcase all of the amazing growth and learning that took place for people who may not understand your gap year process. Now, in order to earn this, you can earn this certification or this award through the Gap Year Game Plan, or we have a DIY option at gapyearcert.com. So you can head to that website and check it out, whether you want to do this fully independently or you want to be part of the Gap Year Game Plan. If you want to learn a little bit more about that, last week's podcast episode goes to that in detail. We'll link to that in the show notes, but you can go and check it out. Tons of resources and a really great addition to your gap year. It isn't something that's going to take up the entire year. To complete the process, it will take about 40 hours to complete. So again, this is similar to how many hours you need in Ontario to graduate from high school. It's something that can be very easily completed on your gap year. Now, it is our absolute honor to be the ones who are issuing this badge here in Canada, alongside our partners, the Gap Year Association in the US, and we are so excited to bring this forward. Once you earn the badge, you become part of our incredible Gap Year alumni community, and we have tons of great things coming down the pipe for anybody who's taken a gap year. So if you are an alum or you know somebody who has taken a gap year, whether it was 1 year ago or 100 years ago, they are also eligible to receive the Student of Leadership and Humanity Award retroactively. So they can always reach out to us or head to gapyearcert.com and figure out how they can pick up a copy of their badge. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Check it out on the website, and you can figure out how you can use and leverage this award to maybe get a job or to apply for a scholarship or to simply set yourself apart from your peers who maybe haven't chosen the gap year pathway. So I wish you all the best, and I look forward to issuing you your very own Student of Leadership and Humanity Award.